ads indistinguishable.
We begin our program with a story about a media arms race over technology and advertising. Last week, Facebook reinforced just how important advertising is to its business when it served up ads in its news feed that ad blockers were powerless to intercept. Within 2 days, the open-source ad-blocking community blocked Facebook's new ads, only for Facebook to respond by blocking the ad blockers. Watching all of this from a slight distance, but with a huge stake in the outcome, are content providers, many of them news outlets, who have seen online platforms such as Facebook rob them of ad revenues, while at the same time relying on them for the revenues that do keep trickling in. And it doesn't stop there. News outlets that allow Facebook to host their content are still powerless if Facebook decides to adjust its algorithms. With newsrooms shrinking and alternative revenue models at best experimental, traditional news outlets are playing a numbers game whose rules are being kept under wraps. Our starting point this week is Facebook's headquarters, Menlo Park, California. For the hundreds of millions of people around the world who use ad blockers, Tuesday, August 9th was different. On that day, there were ads aplenty on Facebook's news feeds. That was the day the site rolled out its block on the ad blockers, exposing users to ads those users did not want to see. For ad blockers, the companies that make the software, and the people who use them, Facebook was committing a commercial act of war, and they struck back quickly.
Last Tuesday, they introduced something into their code that would circumvent ad blocking. Well, by Thursday, we had introduced something that worked around that. It goes back and forth.
Facebook quickly reacted by finding a way to block the circumvention code. And this is what usually happens in the kind of cat and mouse game of ad blockers and publishers.
Friday morning, we found another workaround. Friday afternoon, they found another workaround, and then finally Friday afternoon, we found a final workaround, and they were able to work around that. Where we stand right now is Facebook currently is not allowing users to use ad blockers, but we are confident that the open source community that supports AdBlock Plus will find a solution soon.
Facebook's block on ad blockers was announced less than a month after it issued an earnings report that was better than expected. The company reported $6.4 billion in revenues in the last quarter, 97% of which came from advertising. The vast majority of ad revenues, 85%, came from mobile users, most of whom access Facebook through phone apps, for which ad blockers have yet to be developed. So Facebook's anti-ad blocking initiative is aimed at protecting ad money coming in through web users on desktops. It also sends a message to publishers, content providers, that their ad revenues are safe on Facebook.
One lesson that publishers have learned in this digital world is that they can't monetize their content in the way that they used to. All of those revenue streams from different types of technology and services are really marginal compared to advertising. So they are dependent on advertising, and that's really the background to the struggle that we see.
The face-off between an advertiser, a distributor, and a creator. That face-off has happened hundreds of years ago in newspapers, it happened in television, it's happened in radio, it's currently happening on social media platforms. But the endpoint always has to be that if content has to be created, it has a cost. Now, if you're a person who's got huge objections to seeing ads, then the only thing I can say to you is that if you still want to consume my content, you have to pay for it.
Facebook dressed up its new anti-ad blocking policy by talking up the Facebook experience and the site's mission of giving people the power to make the world more open and connected. The statement barely made mention of revenues, except to say the new policy would protect the funding needed to support the journalism and other free services we enjoy on the web. Facebook also took a swipe at the ad blockers and the way they make their money through something called whitelisting. The German company behind AdBlock Plus allows certain kinds of ads, smaller, unobtrusive ones, to be seen. And it gives smaller websites a break, letting their ads go unblocked. However, major websites must pay a fee to AdBlock Plus if they want their ads to be seen and their site to be whitelisted. Google, Amazon, and Microsoft are all on AdBlock Plus's whitelist. They paid to get there.
Only the top 10%, the really big players, pay, and they pay for the service that we're providing them. And when you don't give users complete choice, users are going to try to find a way to take that choice back. Users download ad blockers because they want to be in the driver's seat, and we feel the internet works in such a way that users should be in that driver's seat.
Let's realize that the end game is the same for everybody. There is a creator, there is a platform, there is a consumer, and everyone in the value chain has to be viable. Clearly today, Facebook is a very powerful platform. 1 billion people log in every day. Now you can't argue with that power. If I have that kind of an audience base, I will exercise that power.
Facebook's clout is undeniable and in many ways immeasurable. Looming larger than the ad blocker issue, though, is the reliance news providers now have on the site and its 1.7 billion users. The Instant Articles feature and Facebook Live are both designed to get more and more media outlets to have their content hosted on Facebook's servers. The influence that this one platform now has on how media outlets operate and what they see as news seems to grow by the day.
Every single publisher, every single editor has to be mindful of what their content will look like on social media and optimize that content in order for it to be shared and to be disseminated far further than their site would reach alone. So that can present some issues journalistically. Are you producing content because it will suit the medium as opposed to telling the stories that people really need to know?
So then the question becomes, well, what kinds of news are being potentially put at risk in this new ecosystem? Long-form investigative news, more complex stories that are not easily and instantly digestible by users and therefore don't generate those numbers. The kinds of news that hold local centres of power to account are in many ways the vanguards of the fourth estate, and we need to be really worried about the pressures that this new news economics is placing on them.
And that is where news is going, whether journalists like it or not. On the download now, our viewers on ad blockers and their impact on the news business.
It might be tempting for journalists to see Facebook as a savior of sorts. Put your content here and the ads can't be blocked. Just remember, Facebook doesn't care what the content is. They care about capturing attention and monetizing it. If your journalism doesn't do as well as cat videos, conspiracy theories, and baby photos, Facebook will dump you. Just ask any publication that spent time building up a page with millions of fans, only to see engagement drop to nothing after an algorithm change.
Facebook has been doing a better job at providing tools for monetization. I understand that instant articles have been very successful for both users and publisher revenue. But of course, at the end of the day, they're working for their own best interests. I don't think Facebook has robbed news outlets of revenue, though. Facebook has created a lot of extra traffic to publishers that didn't exist before, and many have become addicted to that traffic. Spending on the expectation of social media traffic has created great opportunities and innovation in the media world, but in some ways it was a mistake to build a business plan around an external platform that didn't really promise publishers anything.